Hi everyone. We seem to be having a technical glitch, so I'm standing in for Prajwal. While we figure that out, good evening everyone. Welcome to DH Sparks. We have an experienced panel here today. We're joined by Uma Aswani. She's an educationist and counselor with decades of experience of working with students and is also a regular contributor to DH's education supplement. Next, we have Janaka Pushpanathan. Hi, Uma. So next we have Janaka Pushpanathan. As the director of the British Council, she leads their work in South India and has over 20 years of experience in the arts, education, and enterprise sectors. Hi, Janaka, welcome. Maya
Hello.
Sundarajan is the regional officer of United States and India Educational Foundation, where she manages the Education USA program in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, and Pondicherry. She has close to 20 years of professional experience in a wide range of areas, including education, promotion of bilateral trade and investment, and arts management. Welcome, Maya. So before we begin, we'll just take a quick poll from our audience joining us on Zoom. Can we have the poll question up, please? Okay, so for our audience on Facebook and on YouTube who are not able to see the question, I'll read it out. Have you postponed your higher education plans due to COVID-19? Your options are yes, no, or unsure. So while you take the poll questions, I will ask Uma our first question. What is the major trend, Uma, do you think that you have observed in your interaction with your students?
Okay.
Are they deferring their higher study plans or are they going ahead with it?
Okay, so when the COVID happened, initially when the lockdown happened, all my students had their offers deferred to January 2021. But UK universities and German universities opened in September, and the embassies were very efficient in churning out the visas, and my students went in September. But initially, when the COVID lockdown happened, there was panic, and all of us were unsure as to what was going to happen. So the first advice I gave everybody was defer your offers, So initially we deferred, and then, but many students hung on to their offers for September to see, we waited to see what will happen and how things will pan out. So students heading to UK and to Europe, to Germany in particular. These are the only two countries they went in September. All the others, the US universities, they started their classes online in September, and they plan to go in Jan. They deferred their offer to Jan. So students who started their classes in September will continue in January. The others who deferred for Jan will head towards the university in Jan.
Hi, I hope I'm audible now.
Sorry?
Sorry about the technical glitch. So just picking up from there.
Yeah.
Have enrollments picked up for the spring semester compared to the previous semester?
The enrollment, initially I thought they might drop, okay, for a few students. Universities were actually very nice about the whole thing. They said we'll give a full refund of the tuition fee and the housing deposit. But we hung on. We said, no, we'll wait and then decide. If we don't come in Jan, then we'll take it. But all my students are all very enthusiastic about going, because these are kids who plan to go. And this entire COVID is not peculiar to one country. The entire world is facing this. So students who've decided to go are going. And in fact, in UK, when they opened in September, many students went in September. And there was a second wave that happened in north of England. So some universities were offering online classes. But students were very, very happy to even do that. They just wanted to move on and move ahead with their plans. So nobody has really dropped their offer, and nobody has changed their mind. People are still going ahead, which I think is a positive sign.
So what can the students expect in terms of campus life and classes? And Maya and Janaka, feel free to jump in here. So how is it different from the previous semester? I mean, what can they expect?
Are you asking me, Prajwal?
Well, yes.
Yeah. So, now they're all having online classes. Some universities are offering what is known as hybrid courses. In the US, they call it hybrid classes, where you don't miss any credits. When they are ready to have in-person, face-to-face class, you can continue from where you left off without missing any credits. In UK, they are having a combination of online and face-to-face for small groups. Universities are being very, very careful with social distancing and cleaning the place and keeping all the common areas, the dorms and the dining rooms absolutely hygienic and clean as per the public health department's requisition. And students are being given a care kit. So they are taking care of everybody's hygiene and the security. They're concerned about the pandemic. And they're trying to give them a college experience where they do meet their peers. They're not completely isolated. They get to meet them in small class sizes and have both a combination of online and in-person class.
Right. So Janaka, how have the universities in the UK responded to the pandemic? What measures is the government taking specifically? Because there's been, like Uma mentioned, there's been a second wave a few months back.
Right. Thank you, Prajwal. But before I respond to that, could I just talk a little bit about what Uma has spoken on the COVID pandemic affecting or impacting student choices? We have some really interesting data.
Please go ahead.
Just exactly to understand some of the student sentiment during the pandemic, the British Council has conducted surveys of how students are adapting or looking at their study abroad plans. And the latest one, which we sort of done between August and September, had responses of applicants, of people who had actually applied to UK universities. And it kind of gives us an overview, a snapshot of how students from India are looking at their study abroad plans, especially with the context of going to the United Kingdom. So 65% of Indian undergraduates and 59% of postgraduates have told us who'd already planned to study in the UK in 2020-21 have said to us that they're not at all likely to cancel or delay their plans.
Right.
And while the respondents, in India, when you compare it to their sort of, student counterparts in China, if you will, respondents in India appear to be much more certain, more clarity about keeping their overseas study plans when you compare compared to the same sort of respondent group in China. And again, if you look at our Chevening scholarships, 40 Chevening scholars, and which means that is about 80% of those who are selected, are preparing as we speak, are preparing their paperwork to travel to the UK, and some of them are already there in the autumn.
Right.
And I think one more thing that we noticed is, like Umar rightly said, yes, the concern is around health and safety. I think that's a top and key concern for students. And I think the UK in particular, to answer your second question on how universities and the country itself is sort of responding or addressing students' concerns, I think the UK HE sector as a whole has gone above and beyond to ensure that international students, not just from India, but across the world, physical and mental health are prioritized. And if they do have any concerns, people who consult the British Council, we are telling them to get in touch with their university. You're aware that the UK's National Health Service, NHS, is available to both domestic as well as international students. Right. And there are no charges that apply to testing or treatment provided in relation to coronavirus. So I think the health and safety is priority, and that's kind of in place. And again, the distance learning, like was mentioned earlier, is blended, part online and part distance. And the students will transition eventually from an online mode to a face-to-face.
Can just stop you for a moment? I think we have the poll results which are ready.
Sure.
So let's take a look at the results. So I think most of the students who responded, around 55% of them have said that they've postponed their plans due to COVID-19, at least in the audience that we have here. And about 18%, I think, are unsure of whether they'll continue with their education. But it's interesting that several proactive measures have been taken to ensure that foreign students continue with education. So I think the next poll, could we have next poll up, please, for the... So the poll, for the benefit of our audience in YouTube, is would you prefer to continue your higher education in an Indian university? It's either yes or no. So while we have the respondents come in, Maya, so the US has been a popular destination for students from India. Has that changed with the pandemic? I mean, I have to ask you the question, given the tumultuous year that the US has had, and what can new students expect? Because a lot has happened this year, including the election and the pandemic and everything.
Yeah. So I should say that, the US remains the top choice for Indian students wanting to go abroad. We have about 194,000 Indian students currently in the US at different levels. We are actually seeing while India has traditionally been a graduate market, like most students want to go to the US to do their master's education, we've actually seen an increased interest in the undergraduate pursuit. So we see high school students wanting to go to the US for their bachelor's program, especially if they're interested in research or interdisciplinary studies. These are amazing opportunities in the US, at US universities, right from the undergraduate level. And we're also seeing students, and these undergraduate students that we're seeing are not just from the metro cities and cosmopolitan cities. We are actually seeing from very small towns as well. And these students from small towns come with immense talent and great aspirations, and it's amazing to see that. So just about the message from the US higher education sector, the message is that US higher education network welcomes international students, and Indian students are especially excelling in US classrooms, and they are proving themselves time and again with their hard work. And no doubt COVID has proved to be a stumbling block, but we are seeing students overcoming these obstacles. They are managing their first semester online, as Uma explained, and we are seeing a lot of students now heading to the US to join the spring semester. And I would also like to say that whether we like it or not, I think in some ways we are getting used to the situation. And we are finding ways to go ahead with our normal life, whether it is working online or meeting friends and families online. So, education is no different. And luckily, technology exists to make everything possible. And we are seeing US universities have risen to the occasion, and they have effectively used several learning management systems to make US higher education accessible across the globe. So that's really the message. I'd also like to comment a little bit about how US universities have responded to the COVID situation. Well, obviously, a great deal of flexibility has been brought into the admission process. US universities, a lot of US universities have extended their deadlines. Most universities have waived the standardized tests such as SAT or ACT for undergraduate and GRE or GMAT for graduate degrees. So that itself is a big shift. And a lot of processes have been made more friendly, like even receiving documents, or if a student is not able to submit a transcript or a mark sheet because the university is closed. So a lot of these exceptions have been made. In terms of being on campus as well, the US universities have been extremely flexible with allowing students to change their classes, allowing them exemptions for certain mandatory requirements which they may have otherwise had. And they have also invested a lot in the faculty and preparing them to handle a lot of online classes.
Right.
So that's the US perspective in a nutshell.
So the campuses have opened up for students, essentially. You say that?
I think this is a university-based approach.
Right.
Each university makes that decision. So some universities are online, some universities are managing it hybrid, and some are offering even more than about 80% of their classes in person. So this is a university decision that that's being taken.
For the universities that are offering online classes both in the UK and the US, I think the question then it concerns finances. So a lot of universities offer online classes, and there was no indication, at least in the early days, of any reduction in fees. And sort of, what is the justification for this? Uma, would you like to come in?
Yeah, in fact, US universities have capped the tuition fee for 2021.
Okay.
Universities across the world have capped their tuition fee for 2021.
Right.
As far as scholarships and financial aid goes, they're all coming forth and offering need-based and need-blind scholarships and graduate assistantship, graduate scholarships, and so on. They realized that the last 1 year has been extremely difficult on many families, and so they are waiving the application fee in some cases. Universities are really going out of their way. I mean, it's not. They need us. They need us more than our students need them. So they are doing everything possible to make it comfortable for the students to come. They're really helping out.
Right.
Like Maya said, majority of our Indian students go to US. That has been the trend for the last so many years, especially in South India. Everybody wanted a US education. The last few years, of course, we've had a lot of students going to UK because now the UK government has announced that students can stay back for 2 years post-study, and that's a huge plus, So students want that, even though US offers the OPT and one can stay back, since the UK government has clearly announced saying that post-study, stay back for 2 years. A lot of our Indian students are opting for UK in recent times.
Can we hold the thought about that? I think we'll circle back to that later about staying back in countries. That's an important topic. But I think we have the results for the latest poll. Can we have the poll results up? So I think an overwhelming number of students would not prefer to continue their higher education in an Indian university. I think they're willing to wait it out and actually apply to the universities they want to get to. But I also want to talk about very quickly the rise in enrollments in countries like Australia, New Zealand, and Canada, outside of the very popular and traditional, let's say, destinations like the UK and the US. So any indication about why the students are opting for these countries as opposed to the traditional destinations?
Yeah. May I?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, New Zealand is getting a lot of students, again, for the same reasons. Like I said, UK is allowing students to stay back for 2 years. So that's the reason you want to go there, because you're allowed to stay back. New Zealand gives you 3-year post-study work visa, even when you apply for a study visa.
Right.
So that's another attractive destination to go to. And the tuition fee in these countries is lesser. In New Zealand, it's like UK. UK is also very reasonable. New Zealand is about the same cost,
right.
And the number of years you spend doing an undergrad is 3 years, like in UK and New Zealand and Australia, and 1 year for masters, so they finish their education much sooner too. So these are the reasons they're going there. And countries like New Zealand, they need people. They want young, talented youngsters who will come there, be an asset to the university, and hopefully create jobs in those countries someday.
So Janaka, just so would you like to talk about what prompted the UK's decision to allow, like Uma mentioned, people to stay back after their education? So it was supposed to be a year when a lot of students were supposed to again opt for the UK colleges in the UK. So just any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the decision was there to be made, and I think we welcome that decision, and I think it allows and gives both countries, India and UK, to sort of benefit from this decision. Indian students are bright, hardworking, and we're very, very pleased that students from here and not just from India, but from across the world can go to the UK and have a very high quality education in the UK and be able to explore opportunities post-education, because of the post-study work visa and the graduate immigration route. I'd also like to touch upon, you spoke about financial aid and stuff like that and
right.
flexibility of universities. So I'm very happy to say that and all of these details are available on our website, but I think a lot of students are sometimes not aware that scholarships are provided by universities, scholarships are provided by British Council, and there are also government funded scholarships. If you look at the total funding pot, it's about £13 million annually that's available to students, for students to avail of. And I think our scholarships, which are the great scholarships, it's £10,000 each towards tuition fees from UK universities for a one-year postgraduate course, which I think is also very useful in terms of students being able to tide over the financial aspects of going abroad to study, which, and like Uma said, the fees are pretty reasonable as well. In terms of flexibility, I think even right from the IELTS test, in terms of dates, in terms of that safe and secure environment to take the test before applying to a course. Also, I think being able to take an online course with a UK university sitting in India, and then the student can actually get the visa just before travel. You do need to go, but then I think lots of measures are being taken. It is a global pandemic. I think nobody is exceptional to that, but I think the universities and the sector is responding very empathetically and positively to international students.
About the fees again, outside of the scholarships, would you say that the universities have reduced their fees even for the ones that are offering hybrid classes? Because I think the idea is that a lot of people like to experience life in campuses abroad, and so there's less scope for that with the pandemic around. So is there a change overall? Is there a trend of a reduction in fees in the UK?
We are not seeing a trend, but I think again it's very university specific. The course fees have been very, very reasonable, and we've had. I don't think that's been a very, very big concern. While it is a valid concern, but we believe that. I mean, and some of the data that points us towards this decision is that we recently held Study UK virtual fairs. We had 5,800 students who attended 2 virtual Study UK fairs. Over 67 or 70 universities, UK universities participated. So and these were all students and parents who had very clear, concrete plans of studying in the UK, choice of university done, application form done, just, that whole conversation with the university in the fair. So we believe that there is a very huge positive outlook towards choosing the UK as a first destination while students are considering their study abroad plans.
Okay. So I think please.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in on the question on the financial part. I know Uma has spoken for US universities as well, but just to add on to what Uma said, many universities have waived the application fees, and the universities, in some universities have also made tuition for international fees on par with in-state tuition. So that's a big step. I mean, I'm not saying all universities have the capacity to do that, but some universities have done that. And universities have also set up emergency COVID funds to help students tide over, let's say, a financial crunch that they have. And how
universities funds come into play? Just in very specific examples of how these funds are utilized.
I don't have specific examples, but I do know that US universities have set up emergency funds for students, let's say, who have specific needs. Let's say they're not able to meet a certain expense while living in the US. I know that this is being given on a need basis. And I know that US universities have also provided for additional scholarships for students. And in some students who already have a merit scholarship, they have extended the merit scholarship even sometimes when the student has not achieved a lower GPA. I think one thing that all US universities recognize is that these are very tough times and students are coping with a lot of stress. So there are a lot of provisions being made available. And one of the things you mentioned is that the students who are studying online and they are not using the campus services, some universities are actually crediting the student for services that you don't use on campus, like the health centers or recreation centers. So they don't use those things. So, and though that money is being credited to this, back to the student. So these are steps that US universities are very proactively taking to support the students during this time.
Okay, so there's a quick announcement for our viewers who are joining us on other platforms. We'll be opening up for questions soon. Even on Zoom, you can send in our questions and then you can ask the panelists what you want to ask them, any specific questions. So can we have the third poll up quickly, please? So again, the third poll question is, how do you finance your higher education studies? The options are education loan, self-finance, or scholarship. So while we wait for those results to come in, again, a broad question to all our panelists regarding Indian universities. Is there a popularity, student exchange programs or semester abroad programs? Are we seeing a gain in popularity of these programs? And one is, do you see Indian universities matching the quality of education that foreign universities give, given the pandemic? Uma, would you like to come in?
We don't have the kind of flexibility in Indian universities like you do abroad.
Right.
Very sad. It's very sad. And I'm a professor from Indian universities, but I feel really sad that our method of teaching is still quite archaic. We do not offer practical classes. There it's a combination of traditional classrooms and practical, hands-on experience. We still don't do that, at least not at the undergrad level, and our campuses are, it's not, I mean, it's sad. We can't afford it. We are not our countries are not as rich as some of those other countries. They have huge space, fantastic state-of-the-art facilities. We have a couple of them in India now, which is, trying to give the students a good campus feel. But the campus that you see there are beautiful, and the flexibility that you have there is fantastic. And students are not just judged based on their performance in exams. They are, they're tested on individual skills, on teamwork, they have open book exams. So you don't really have to by heart stuff, and you don't need to know it, because in real life you don't have it all up here. You use your computers, you use your calculators. So they are very, very, and for a subject like business or something, they will pick actual case studies, pick real companies, and then ask you to analyze their books of accounts and so on. So the method of teaching is much more advanced there, And just to add, students go there not because Indian education is bad, just to get out of your comfort zone and go and experience the adventure that lies ahead is an education in itself. You go abroad not just because you want high class, good education in a fabulous campus with all the facilities, but you go there because you meet students from different backgrounds, you meet students from various cultures, various countries. You learn from each other. You belong to a very vibrant, eclectic community. When you go abroad, you become more independent, more tolerant. When you meet people from different places, you appreciate, their language, their religion, their culture, their food. You become a better person. You're more understanding, more tolerant, more responsible, more independent. And you not only are closer to a gateway of job opportunities, but you have become a global person with an absolute global perspective over every issue. You become a true international person.
Janaka, would you like to come in? Student exchange programs rising in popularity? Janaka, can you hear me?
I think her mic is closed.
Right, sorry. We'll come back to you. Maya, student exchange programs.
Yeah. So, I mean, the US-India higher education partnerships has always been on the high. It's very hard to quantify the amount of the number of partnerships because almost every Indian institution has an MOU with a US university, and
Right.
there is semester exchange programs. There are faculty exchange programs, and all of these are ongoing through individual efforts, but also through the efforts that are put together by my office. For instance, under the Fulbright program, we have faculty from India going to the US for research or for teaching, and we enable American citizens to come to India for similar purpose. And all of these exchanges promote long-term ties between US and India higher education partnerships.
Okay.
And that apart, there are other projects as well, like the US-India 21st Century Knowledge Initiative, and there's Partnership 2020. All of these are funding for enabling partnerships between the two countries. And there is a robust interest from both sides to make it, to take this further, and we really want to see it, explore its fullest potential.
Okay. So we have the poll results for the final question. Can we have the poll results up, please? So I think a majority of students either go for an education loan or a scholarship. Very few of them self-finance, at least from our audience. That's the results that we have. So we'll be opening up for questions. We have a lot of questions lined up already. The first question is by Sitara Devaya, who asks, what are the predictions for the job market, internship opportunities and part-time jobs included, in Canada next year? And what is a good source to find out? I'm looking specifically at the broadcast media industry for work. Uma, would you like to come in?
Okay, so Canadian universities will be opening only in fall 2021. They still haven't started classes on campus. They will be online in Jan as well. Okay. So if things are going to be online in January 2021, there is no chance of getting any job opportunities. And as far as internship and job opportunities go, this is something we can't answer in any country, not in India, not anywhere, not with the current situation.
Right.
So we'll have to wait for the next 9 months to see how things are, and then hopefully things will come back to normal. Once the universities open up and they have face-to-face on-campus classes, then you can definitely expect your job opportunities, your 20 hours per week and 40 hours per weekend. That will definitely work. You can get jobs on campus or outside and, outside the campus, but you can work once you start having face-to-face classes.
So also, I think one other question that many people have is, has there been any change in the scholarships offered? First, I think specifically in the UK and the US, and then with other countries. So Janaka, would you like to go now? Or I think...
Yeah, I was having trouble with the unmute button for your earlier question, but probably we'll circle back on the student exchange bit if there's time at the end. But specifically with respect to scholarships, as I said, on 26th of October this year, we've expanded the GREAT scholarships, and we've increased the funding pot, and there are 31 scholarships available. Also from the British Universities International Liaison Office, we know that there is about £4.7 million available for international students to avail of in terms of scholarships. The government scholarships total up to £13 million. And I think there's an entire, you may have heard about the STEM scholarships, which we'd launched in the last 2 years. We've offered 162 scholarships for women specifically to go and study.
That's interesting. Okay.
So yeah. So there is plenty of scholarships available. Yes.
So there's been no change, just a change in the application process. Is that right? Perhaps?
No, there's no change in the application process. I think the funding pot in terms of scholarships has gotten bigger.
Okay.
And it's just that, it's available to both, mostly for post-graduation, postgraduate students, but there's also a funding pot available, which the government offers for all students across all universities. And of course, as I said earlier, there are university scholarships which are available as well.
Maya, a quick rundown of scholarships offered by the US. for the
Well,
benefit?
in the US, it is mostly what the US university offers for undergrad and graduate, but
Right.
there are a lot of independent scholarship uh, providers as well. So
Okay.
I would say that US universities have responded, as I mentioned earlier, very, very favorably, and everybody understands the tight financial situation that students are in, and
Right.
they are generating funds to provide more scholarships as much as possible. So these are individual US university decisions based on their funding portfolio. But I do know, and I've heard from many US universities, when we had our US university fair this year, we had about 150 US universities participating in it, and for India. And most universities were talking about how they were looking at increasing some kind of a scholarship, or making sure that students get some funding, some scholarship, something at least.
Right.
Yeah.
Uma, what should students look out for while applying for scholarships? Anything they should have in place already?
Okay, so Maya mentioned that U.S. universities have a COVID fund, and
Right.
you are asking how will they get that out. So
Right.
while
Right.
you do the U.S. university applications, they actually ask you to write one small little essay or small paragraph on if you've had any difficulty because of COVID, if your family has suffered
Right.
any financial constraints and so on. So they are asking these questions to find out if students could do with any additional funds because of COVID, you know.
No,
Uh,
but generally, with regards to a scholarship, anything that students should particularly look out for in terms of a successful application, or just a
so,
very quick tip?
so all the scholarship applications are on each of the university portals.
Right.
Even if you do a common application to US, you have individual supplementary applications and scholarship applications.
Okay.
Those are all based on, if it's a merit-based scholarship, it's based on your performance, your GPA, and your essays. You have to write essays, explaining why you think you need to get a scholarship.
Right.
So you need to write good, effective essays, and you need to present your case well to them.
I think that's a separate webinar in itself. I think
Yes, it is.
invite you all what makes a good, successful essay. So we have Dr. Matthew, who is joining us from YouTube in Bangalore. He asks, with the rapid introduction of robotology and AI, are the US universities gearing up to address the changes that are imminent in the curriculum and course structure? Maya,
Yeah.
changes in curriculum.
I should say that US universities, I mean, of course, these are very extraordinary times, and we are going through a historic time, and everybody is actually, using a lot of technology in the classrooms. And
Right.
US universities are investing in a lot of e-learning platforms, and I think it's world over, educationists are conceptualizing hybrid models that will leverage the best of both traditional and online education, in the future as well. This has probably come to stay. In terms of the US universities, in terms of their virtual classroom experiences, they are coming up with really innovative ideas where students are able to work on projects in their home communities and share that in their US classrooms.
Right.
And thinking of ways in which they can bring speakers from around the world into the virtual classrooms, which may not have happened as often as right now, or what is happening. So universities are very responsive to this. They're very active on social media, and they are addressing a lot of student concerns on enabling this. Having said that, yes, they have to come up with innovative ways of teaching the programs, given that it's all now online. There is a lot of
I
research
think
that US
the question
universities
was,
are doing.
The question was whether there's a change in the curriculum depending on the rapid technological advances that we're seeing with regards to AI. So it's very, is the curriculum changing to adapt to the pace of technology?
Well, they are coming up with new, like for example, traditionally, if the students would have worked on projects in the US, right now, students who are studying from across the world, they are looking at projects where they are working in the home community but sharing it, in the US in the classroom. So yes, it will have some impact on the in the way the program is delivered and in some of the content as well. Having said that, US universities are striving very hard to make sure that the program guidelines and everything that is given on their website, they are delivering as much as possible.
Okay.
When students are applying to US universities, they should definitely ask, depending upon the program they are going to, whether there has been a change in the research focus. These are questions that they should definitely ask the university, because there could be small changes, given that, the times are unprecedented.
Okay. So we have the next question. It's from Prabhakar Kandaswamy, who joins us from Facebook. His question is there racial discrimination in places like Australia, Europe, and New Zealand? How is the situation now? Curiously, he's left the US out. So anybody who would like to answer that question?
Yeah, there is no racial discrimination. We have as much racial discrimination in India as we have in anywhere else.
Right.
So I don't believe there's any racial discrimination. We do hear of one odd case here and there. We did hear of some cases in Australia, and I think it's not the general norm. It might be one odd case, and sometimes if our students go there and then hang on with only their community and not really mix with anybody else, somebody must have said something nasty to them. But there is no racial discrimination at all, and there is some racial discrimination, but as much as there is in India. In India, we are racist, and we are there's discrimination even amongst ourselves, which is
Right.
really, really sad. And there can't be anybody who's more racist, which is really sad. But there is no racial discrimination at all.
Janaka, would you like to come in?
I'd like to say that I think the UK celebrates diversity. I think UK universities celebrate and encourage diversity in the classrooms. Indian students are the largest international community in the UK who are studying. Indian students are the largest
Right.
international community. And in terms of even from data that we have on the visa issue rate for Indian students is 96%, which is way over the global average. And I think students choose to go to the UK because it's safe, it's secure. If you look at some of the rankings, London has been named the world's best city in terms of safety and quality of life, as well as education. For students for the second consecutive year, as per the QS Best Student City ranking as well.
Right.
So I think as far as the UK is concerned, I think the students feel safe, secure, as well as the community of students, international students, and especially students from India is growing very, very significantly, and I'm very pleased about that.
Maya?
I should just say that US universities definitely celebrate diversity. And I'm going to use a cliche that US is a big melting pot of cultures. And even from my own personal experiences, US is one of the most friendliest countries. I mean, you walk into campus, they are curious about you. They want to know, they want to build on the diversity on the campuses and the local communities. They're amazingly friendly and welcome people in. And obviously, I mean, the reality is that race is a problem across the world. I mean, that small pocket does exist, but I should say that U.S. higher education network is welcomes diversity, and that's a very important focus for the U.S. community.
So racism, the exception rather than the norm when it comes to students. Right. So an anonymous attendee is asking, will the application dates be extended for fall 2021? Uma, would you like to take that?
It might, if necessary. It will. In fact, it's not over yet. The application dates are still open for fall 2021.
Right.
And there's a chance that it might get extended, like it was extended for Jan 2021. They extended it.
Right.
But we have ample time, so I don't see why one should extend it. Students have to go to all the universities.
Right.
Well, I should just add that, I have heard from US universities that what is given on the website, a lot of it is negotiable now. So if there is a student really has a problem where they are not able to submit on time, of course, deadlines are sacrosanct with US universities, but, don't not write to them to ask. Communication is really key in these times, and US universities are very flexible at this point. And if the student can explain themselves well enough, at least he or she will be heard.
So essentially take the effort to drop them a mail and find out what's happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Okay, so Surya Suresh asks if it's possible to get 3 years opt while doing an MBA in the US. 3 years optional, is it?
Okay, so the OPT works this way. You have to finish one complete year of study, and then you get one additional year. For undergrad students, they will get 1 year of OPT. For master students, if it's a STEM program, then they can get an extension up to 2 years.
Right.
Okay, Surya is talking about OPT in the US.
OPT,
So,
yeah.
yeah. So it's an optional practical training that they offer. So after you have completed 1 year of your study, then you can apply to work there for an extension period. Okay.
Right.
So generally, when students go for an MBA program, we will tell them to apply for the OPT at the end of the second year, because then they get to stay on for longer,
Right.
rather than, because when you ask for an OPT option, then you can start working during your study. You can work for 20 hours during your study and 40 hours during holidays. So we tell our students to apply for the OPT towards the end of the tenure of their study so that they can stay back.
Right.
And it depends on where he is applying for an MBA, because
I think you mentioned the US specifically.
only the STEM students can stay on for 2 years. The other students can get to stay only for 1 year. As of now, that's the case.
Well, actually, if I may just add to that, when a student is looking for optional training, the OPT options, some business programs and some programs are management programs could be classified under STEM. So they would need to check with the US university under which category the program is classified under.
Right.
And if it is classified under the STEM category, then they may be eligible for the extended OPT, which is up to 27 months.
So the question on YouTube is by Nitin Krishna. He asks, where do film schools fit in the post-lockdown world? Where do film schools fit in the post-lockdown world? Film schools, because they of course require.
So film schools require face-to-face classes, and I know students who have gone in September to UK doing film school programs, and they're having a combination of in-class and online program. In US also, all the face-to-face programs, courses like the film and where you need to have in-person classes, they're going to be offering that to the students.
Right.
My students going to US will also have in-person classes when they go in fall.
So I think the question next is open for everyone. An anonymous person has asked this. What about doctoral students? Any tip for doctoral students who are pursuing their PhD? What should they have in place before they opt for studying abroad? Because it takes quite a while. And so any suggestions or any advice for students? Okay,
so students who are already doing PhD in any of the foreign universities, their tenure has been increased because of the COVID. Okay, if a student already went to do their PhD, the universities have been nice enough to extend their tenure to stay on.
Right.
But if students are going now, they should remember that most PhD programs are fully funded. So they need to, write to each of the universities, research on what they want to do their PhD, and see if there's funds available in that university, in that department, and then apply.
Janaka, would you like to come in? PhD students in the UK, any advice?
Yeah, I think, so what we're hearing, at least from all our, you may be aware that we run the largest bilateral India-UK program, which is the UK-India Educational Research Initiative. So the collaborations are still continuing, and it's like Uma was saying, yes, having that communication and having that conversation with your individual university to be able to negotiate the tenure and the timeline, that's very important. We also have the Newton Baba PhD program, which is now, it was traditionally only STEM, but now we've included social sciences and humanities. So it's open, it's got a wider net of application, especially for students from India who are interested to pursue these options. So, and the graduate immigration route has already provided an extra number of years for people who are specifically doing their PhDs to stay back in the UK. So I think it's all positive for PhD students as well.
So I have a question of my own, which is, what about the humanities? I mean, is it worth going abroad, pursue a degree in the humanities in terms of job opportunities or viability? Because
it's interesting. It's very interesting that you're asking this, because I think your question also comes at a time where the new national education policy has been redrafted and rewritten after a period of 34 years in India.
Right.
It exactly says that it looks at multidisciplinary learning. It's not only focused on STEM. It's showing that the interplay of science and social sciences is so important, which we believe in. And the UK is a great destination to be able to pursue these to be able to pursue these streams, and also looking at it from an industry ready and employability approach. So most of our studies and surveys show that Indian graduates who've gone there to study, all of these subjects have said that their study experience, I think the satisfaction score is about 92%, and their ability to get well-paid jobs back in India is standing at about 93%, I think. So yeah.
If I may just add to that, the US has a fantastic liberal arts and science programs, and one of the strengths of the US is the interdisciplinary studies right from the undergraduate years, and the students, with completely different interests, whether it's neuroscience and sociology or physics and biology. So you can actually do these dual majors and really hone your interest in completely different spectrums altogether. And we do see, actually, while India is largely, a lot of STEM focused students going to the US, we are now seeing a lot of the, the humanities and social sciences students going to the US for PhD, for their master's programs, and especially at the undergrad as well. And also, I just wanted to correct something that I said earlier. The optional practical training for a non-STEM category is 12 months. And for STEM categories, it's extension by 24 months. So I think I mentioned 27 by mistake. So let me just stand corrected.
That's noted. Uma, employability of humanities graduates from abroad?
Humanities has been an extremely popular stream all over the world, in all the universities. Maybe not so much in India. Initially, in India, we were only focusing on engineering and medicine. But we have a huge amount of students who are now showing interest in humanities, because humanities is marketed in a big way all over the world. Subjects like international relations and political science, sociology, economics, business is also a part of humanities in most other countries. But now more than ever, a subject like international relations makes so much sense, we need people who are in international relations. We need all of us to become one world and be more tolerant and work with each other, So these are subjects which are extremely popular. Media and journalism, communication. These are all very, very popular subjects. And psychology is another humanities subject, even though it can be clubbed with medicine and whatever. But these are all very popular subjects.
Right. So Harni Anand is asking, is it better to do MS in the US or Australia? Uma, would you like to answer that?
My choice would be US.
Right.
I've told you, I send my majority of my kids to US and UK, because I think these are the countries with a fantastic range of universities. And we
just quickly, why just better quality of education or
education,
exposure,
universities, reputed universities.
Right.
It makes it if you have a choice, then I would say go with US.
Maya, I'm going to ask Janaka to answer that question. US or Australia? Janaka, your personal choice?
Australia or New Zealand, I will say New Zealand.
Right.
I would say I would bat very strongly for the UK.
Right.
For these three reasons.
No, but the UK is not one of the choices here.
It may not, but I'm throwing it into the pool for the student who asked the question to consider the UK for these three reasons. I think reason number one being that 4 of the top 10 universities in the world are from the UK. Home to 28 of the top 200. In terms of research and science, UK is ranked second and 50.
Okay. Considering the UK as first. Who's second?
Yeah, UK is second in terms of science and research.
No, I mean, okay, consider that your choice is the UK. Who would you choose? It's either the US or the Australia.
I think it's a very personal decision, right? I mean, and I wouldn't like to sort of make that choice, but I can bat very strongly for the UK. If I
Maya, it's only fair that we give you a word here.
Really looking forward to seeing you in my office, or well, at least a virtual office. So do get in touch with us. Look up educationusa.state.gov, follow our Facebook page, and connect with one of our Education USA advisors. We'll be happy to guide you in the process.
Right. Taksha on YouTube asks, US has a monopoly in MFA in creative writing courses, but do their syllabus cater to students from the global south like India? Is it a good option for Indians?
I think that's a very specific program question. So I mean, if the student, I would always say it's the student who has to make the decision based on what is their interests are. And if that is a program that suits the person, then they should just go ahead and apply.
Right. Uma, quick word here. MFA in creative writing.
Did you say the course is on creative writing?
Yeah, the US has a monopoly on creative writing courses, but do their syllabus cater to students from the global south?
Absolutely, creative writing. We all think alike. We write. All of us are creative, and.
No, but I think the idea is
what is the global south? I didn't get that.
There
point.
is no.
No. So her question was if the syllabus caters to students from the global south, the creative writing courses.
Yes,
because I think the concern is that almost a lot of the structure of creative writing courses often caters to people from first world countries, or you need to be from a very strong financial background to pursue that course in the first place. So those are the concerns, I'm guessing.
No, I mean, I would just comment that especially in something like creative writing, which, I mean, somebody bringing in a completely different perspective would be very highly valuable. And I mean, that would be a big selling point for her, him or her, whoever is applying.
Uma?
I think it will be absolutely adaptable, and doing a creative writing course in the US is absolutely possible for an Indian student, because creativity is not limited in any way. I'm sure the student is as creative as a student sitting in the West. So it will be an interesting course to do.
And I think the courses are created for a specific group of people. It is meant for students from all over the world. Yeah. It's meant for students.
May I jump in here with your permission? If you're looking at creative writing, I know that your question was about the United States, but if you're looking at the United Kingdom, we also have a large pool of scholarships available specifically for creative writing and the arts. It's called the Charles Wallace India Trust. We've given away several fellowships to many practitioners, as well as people who are maybe also in mid-career, and also students who are pursuing a particular kind of course. And there are several universities that offer it as mainstream courses with a link to employment and employability.
Right.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Vishnu Vignesh on YouTube, who asks, what would be the scope of studying engineering abroad post-COVID-19? Uma?
Engineering is going to have as much scope now like it did in the past. And electrical engineering, computer engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these are courses that are going to be in big demand post-COVID. And even if it's mechanical engineering, automation, and so on, they're all going to be in huge demand. There will always be demand for engineering courses.
So I think Sanaya Casey on YouTube asks, for a long time, we've been told that studying abroad is not for the middle class unless you have a scholarship. What kind of financial support is available for those wanting to study but unable to support it solely by family wealth? I think that question has been answered to some extent, but would the choice of courses then matter when it comes to scholarships? Anybody can chip in.
I should just say that, the US universities, we have more than 4,700 accredited US universities, and each, there are universities to meet every single program. It fits with different budgets. So there are some amazing niche universities which offer, where students can do their undergraduate or graduation at a very, very minimal cost. So it is just a question of matching the student's interest and which universities, which region So there could be, a lower living cost depending upon where the student chooses interest as well. And in terms of the undergraduate education, generally people think it is very expensive in the US, but there are ways to meet those expenses in terms of there are pathways like the students can choose to do their first 2 years in a community college and then transfer to a regular university, which would cut their expenses by half. So there are a lot of creative ways in which they can manage that, and it is meant for everybody. And if there is a really talented student out there, with that drive, there are need-based scholarships that US universities provide as well, and merit-based scholarships. So it should be possible if the student really wants to make it happen.
Uma, anything new to add?
Yeah.
Higher education not for the middle class. Is that true?
Yeah, the middle class now it's become, study abroad has become affordable and absolutely accessible. Travel has become simpler, has become cheaper. Universities are offering enough and more scholarships. Banks are giving study loans here, and it's become absolutely doable. It's not something for the elite alone. Anybody can go abroad and study. And I had something to say about the scholarship that Maya was saying. I've lost my chain of thoughts, but you said something about need-based and need-blind scholarship. That's for students who can't afford it. You have to fill what is known as a CSS profile. If you're listening, then please fill the CSS profile on College Board, and that will tell them exactly what you can afford and what you can't afford. You have to put up your bank statements and your income tax returns and everything. So if they think you're a genuine candidate who can't afford it, they give you need-blind scholarship. They give you need-based scholarships.
So we have Purvi Puranik who's asking us, I would like to know if Germany has good universities for international relations, considering it is less expensive. If so, please do suggest some universities. Uma?
Okay, so Germany has fantastic universities for all subjects, even though engineering and mechanical engineering is what most of our students go for. International relations also, they are fantastic. Universities in Germany are free for all, including international students. Okay? But to be a genuine student, we shouldn't go there just because the fee is, there is no tuition fee. The student should start learning the language, even though the course is taught in English, and they say language requirement is not necessary. If the student wants to integrate in the community, stay back and find a job, I would say get enrolled in a Goethe Institute and do the A1, A2, B1, B2 level of language, and then apply. And because it's highly competitive, because it's free of cost for everybody, including international students, everybody wants to go to Germany or to Europe.
Any universities specifically, would you be able to mention that?
The Technical University of Munich, Berlin University, RWTH, Ludwig Maximilian, they're all fantastic. I mean, they're all excellent universities, but one should show that they have done something to prove that they are really interested in Germany, not just for the fee, but learn the language as well and then apply.
Okay. Now, a question on Facebook by Michelle Sampson. What is the academic requirement, CGPA, to get an admission in the US for MS in computer science and engineering? Maya?
Well, I just want to say that, different US universities, sorry, can you see me?
Yeah, please. Yes.
Yeah. So different US universities have different benchmarks. So I would definitely tell the student that they should do a lot of research in identifying, narrowing down at least about 10 universities that fits their research interests, look up the university professor's profile to see what kind of program is being offered there. I wouldn't say there is a fixed CGPA that they have to, there is no cutoff. I think that's the myth that students have to come out of. In the US, there is no cutoff for students to get into a program. The way you present yourself, your statement of purpose, or the essay that you put together, that along with your excellent academic credentials in your standardized course, it's an entire package. It's not just your CGPA.
So they look at overall achievements rather than specific.
Absolutely.
Yeah, may I add something?
Please. Yes, Uma, go ahead.
Yeah, so if the student is looking to apply to an Ivy League in the US, then there is a cutoff. They should get a GPA of, if in India the GPA is out of 10, then they must get at least an 8, and
Right.
they must get a GRE of 327 and above. They
GPA
will
of
be
8 and
accepted
GRE of 327 and above.
327 and above for an Ivy League. Okay.
What is, I think the concern was, what's the lower sort of benchmark for that? Like that's for the Ivy League, right? What about the non-Ivy League
The
universities?
non-Ivy Leagues, they'll take it on one-on-one basis.
Right,
But,
like
but a GRE of at least 320 and above, the non-Ivy Leagues.
right. So now we have Indu Rajiv, who says, for specialized course like fine arts, would you recommend foreign or Indian universities? Especially considering that employment is not so straightforward when it comes to the fine arts. Janaka, would you like to come in? And
yeah,
then
I mean, it's a very good question. And I just want to draw an example from the recent Study UK virtual fair that we ran. We had 12 arts specialist universities who come to sort of participate to look at students, and their virtual stalls were buzzing with activity. There is so much of interest in students across India who actually want to go and study certain specific and very niche arts courses. So I don't know. I think it's a very personal decision whether you want to pursue it in India. There are very, very good universities in India that offer mainstream arts courses with link to industry and employment as well. So in many of our government conversations, these universities come up. I mean, really specialist universities.
So why would someone choose, let's say, specifically a university in the UK as opposed to one in India?
I think you're asking me or Uma?
No, you.
Right. So I think, it's also about that whole international experience.
Right.
You study up to a certain level in your own home country. You've got all the richness that you get from your own home country, your own experiences. And I think the ability to be able to go to another country, a completely different culture, and be able to exchange those beautiful ideas with each other. I think the UK learns a lot from India, and the India is learning a lot from the UK. So I think there is a strong sense of mutuality that does exist between the two countries when students actually go into each other's classrooms. And the diversity in the classroom, as we spoke before, able to interact with so many other nationalities, cultures. And I think you become more rounded as a human being.
Right.
That's what perhaps draws people to go to universities in the UK.
The novel experiences. Uma, any cautionary words for students who want to pursue fine arts education abroad?
Cautionary words for students?
For fine arts courses specifically, like what are the cons of pursuing a fine arts course abroad?
No cons at all. In fact, you have some fantastic fine arts colleges in both UK and US, and there are nothing cautionary or whatever, because the experience of going there and the very fact that you want to go abroad is not because you don't have Indian universities offering fine art courses. You want to go there to experience living in a new country and,
broaden your perspective, essentially.
Yes. Like we discussed this in the beginning of, our conversation. Going abroad is not because we have a lack of something here, but we want to experience a new adventure, experience something, get out of our comfort zone and check out what's on the other side.
So we have Dhriti who's joining us live. Dhriti, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi everyone, I'm Dhriti and I would like to pursue my media studies in the UK, mostly because they accept 15 years of formal education. So I wanted to know if I apply now, will I be able to get in without scholarship? Like, I think I do well. I hope I can do well in my finals also, but if you could suggest some good universities, it would be helpful.
Janaka, would you like to take that?
Right, I'll probably lean on Uma on the suggestion of universities, because I mean there's a whole range of universities that do exist. But Dhriti, thank you for joining us, and thank you for making a wonderful decision about to study in the UK. And we would love to welcome you to our office when we are open, but also feel free to talk to any of my colleagues in the British Council for us to be able to give you more specific information for you. But I think to quickly respond to your question about application, I think early application is very good. and having the confidence that your results will be good is excellent. I'm sure you'll come out with flying colors. But I think early application is very good. Contacting the university early enough and sort of pulling your application pack together is very good. You may also be aware already that you could start your course by beginning online, and then you can always transition to a face-to-face course once COVID restrictions and travel restrictions lift off. There's also an additional sort of concessionary route available if you want to avail the graduate immigration route before 6th of April 2021. There is a process in which you can actually transition onto a concessionary graduate immigration route. And in terms of institutions, we are happy to take you through some of the schools. And if you have specific questions related to specific schools, our advice always is to get directly in touch with the university and to be able to get that information, but you could get it from the British Council as well.
Yeah. Uma, specific examples, suggestions for colleges in the UK for a media studies program?
For media science?
Yeah, I think media and communications, I think, was very, if I'm not
Leeds. Leeds is very good for their media and communications. Leeds, right. University of Leeds. In fact, all universities these days offer all courses. So depending on your GPA and, your marks, and one must apply to the courses that, where they meet the entry requirement.
Right.
University of Westminster, London is known for its media courses. Nottingham Trent is known for its media courses.
Right.
There are plenty of universities. Glasgow is known for its media courses. University of Glasgow. King's College London is known for its media courses.
Right.
So I could just rattle off names, but that wouldn't be fair on the others whose names I don't mention, because they all have good media programs.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. Okay, Maya, quick remark I think you wanted to.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if there are students who are concerned that 3-year undergraduate degrees may not be acceptable in the US, I just want to say that a lot of US universities actually make an exception, and sometimes it is on the website saying that they accept Indian 3-year degrees, and sometimes even when it is not on the website, if the student is really a strong candidate, they do make an exception. So I just urge Dhriti to explore that as well.
Right. So again, we're running out of time. So any last remarks? Just quick last remarks. Uma, would you like to go first?
Okay, so when you kids go abroad, when you students go abroad to study, and I want you all to go ahead with your plans, because the worst is over, and we are now going to see normalcy soon. Things are going to only get better. So when you go abroad, maybe initially you will see social distancing, you will see all these care kits being handed to you.
Right.
But don't let that put you down. I know that's not what you bargained for when you wanted to study abroad, but this is something that the entire world is facing. It's not peculiar to one country. We're all going through this time. And this too shall pass, and you will enjoy a wonderful experience that you're looking for. So just go with a positive attitude and accept all that the university has to offer to you.
Right. Maya?
Yeah, that's amazing, Uma. I think I don't have anything else to add to this except saying good luck, students. And I hope we will see you at some point in one of our Education USA events or fairs or virtual things. We invite you to look up all our details and get in touch with us if, as you aspire for a US higher education. Also, just wanted to say a big thank you to Deccan Herald. Prajwal, thank you so much for steering all of us so nicely. And to Piali for being behind the scenes and supporting us. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Maya. Janaka, last remarks?
Right. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and Deccan Herald for a brilliant initiative like this in these troubled times, to be able to take our messages across to the millions of your readers as well as people who've tuned in online. Couldn't agree more with Maya and Uma. But I just want to end with saying that the UK is welcoming. The UK is a safe space, and we welcome the bright and best students from India and all of the world. Great space to study in, and we do believe that we will be speaking to each other very soon. And I really wish and pray that everyone stays safe and healthy, and and pass through these times, and hopefully we'll have a new 2021. And I want to wish everyone a very, very happy New Year as well.
Right, right.
Merry Christmas. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that's a wrap. I think that we're at the end of the session. So the audience, please do join us in the future for more DH Spark shows. We'll have more interactive shows that are relevant to many of the issues that we're facing today. And do remember to register on Zoom to get notifications for the next webinar whenever it is held. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Uma, Maya, all of you for joining us. Janaka, thank you for joining us. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you so much. Wonderful to be on this panel.